always studied what we call the five profundity. And they are explanation of terms and names. The second is that the definition of substance and essence. The third is the clarification of principles. The fourth is the discussion of application. The fifth is the discernment of the doctrine. And these are called the five profundities. This method is fairly standard in the Chinese practice, and it's not restricted to the Tintai school. So anybody who try to explain a sutra or try to study a sutra, they usually follow these five profundities. The reason is that it is very systematic, because if you try to study a sutra, sometimes people is talk about this, something about this, something about that, and it's not organized. And the Tintai method is very systematic. And it's also very appropriate. Because sometimes when you want to study something, you want to study the essence of it. And you don't want to just to touch the surface, right? On the other hand, you don't want to get carried away. Because a lot of time when we talk about the Heart Sutra, it's so deep. Somebody is so excited about it. They start to talk about the Heart Sutra and then they just got carried away. And you can talk about the Heart Sutra for years and years. Okay? So the Tintai method is trying to get it in a systematic method, so then you get some kind of understanding, not too shallow, but not to carry away. Okay? So that's why the Tintai method is almost like the standard way of learning and teaching and studying sutra. But let's start with explanation of terms and names. The first one is about praja. Praja is the Sanskrit word, and there's a Pali equivalent, prana, called it prana. And the Chinese for Boye. And it's the transcendental wisdom, as I mentioned, and it's the wisdom that is intuitively experienced through meditation on the direct realization of the ultimate truth. Okay? What are the truths? The truths are, for example, like the impermanence, interdependence, interdependent origination, or non-self, or sunnata, self-nature, or Buddha nature, or suchness. And all this is what we call the ultimate truth, or the absolute truth. Now, these are technical, difficult terms. And what I want to emphasize here is that the type of transcendental wisdom that we are talking about, and that we are going to study, is that it is by intuitive experience. It's by that the direct realization of the ultimate truth. And that answers your question. It's not through words and discussions. Okay? And all this discussion, even the things I'm talking about, is only a way to help you to understand that at the end of the day, you have to realize yourself. If you don't realize yourself, all the words are useless. It's just some terminology. Of course, you learn some terminology. And it's not going to help you to solve your problem. It's not going to liberate you, and it's not going to cure your suffering. So that's why you have to really to experience yourself. And there are many ways. We talk about it, we meditate, we do some ritual, we do chanting, we do prostration, we do a lot of things. And all these things are a way to help you to experience the ultimate truth. And usually when we talk about wisdom, we usually associate with cleverness, right? We think that somebody is very wise, and we say, oh, he's very clever, he's very smart, right? Usually we think like that. And that's why we try to avoid to translate the word prajna into wisdom. Because it's nothing to do with cleverness, or to do with the smart, or whether you are you have a very learned person, you have a high education or low education, it doesn't matter. For example, like the sixth patriarch, right now, he is illiterate, but he has great wisdom, right? He has the prajna, what we call the prajna paramita. And he is not only illiterate, he is just a young man selling firewood, right? If you compare, there is no way that we can, by normal worldly standard, he is anything but clever, right? But he is one of the wisest men in Chinese history. And that's why the word praja is often left untranslated, to avoid the misunderstanding of the ordinary wisdom, and try to remind us that it's nothing to do with wisdom, it's nothing to do with cleverness, it's nothing to do with study or how many books that you read, or nothing to do with it. And all these things is just helping us, it's just a tool, and there are many other tools as well. And so we try to avoid people to get into this, the intellectual or the knowledge of things as the praja. And that's why we left it untranslated. And praja is the wisdom that's able to extinct affliction, or what we call the pleasures, suffering, and they bring about enlightenment. Now, and this is one of the examples why now the English translation is getting better and better. Because now the word praja is getting into the mainstream English writing. In old days, people would think, okay, there's no English word, so they just translate into wisdom, right? And people would just, when people who don't have the background, they read about the history, they say, oh, wisdom, is something about wisdom. And they will wrongly associate with the wisdom that usually we learn from school or from our life experience. Okay? So that's why I said that the English translation is getting better and better, because with all these new terms coming up, it's being used and getting more popular. And what we try to learn is to cultivate praja through the intuitive insight into the understanding of the ultimate truth, by cutting through all the, what we call the 5 skandhas. The 5 skandhas, we have already studied the 5 skandhas, right? It's the things that we see that this is a form, we see our feeling, and all these things is the obstruction for us to see the truth. Because we see that this is really an obstruction, and we cannot see the truth. And so is our feeling and our thinking, and even for all the words and then all the discussion that we have is also an obstruction. And once we can get through this and cut through all this, then we can see the true mind or our true nature. Now let me qualify a little bit about the word, the translation for the transcendental wisdom. Right? Transcendental wisdom is actually a borrowed word too. It's also from the Western world. Transcendental means something outside the world, right? Is that the normal meaning, right? We said that, okay, God lives in heaven, right? Heaven is not here, heaven is somewhere else, right? So transcendental wisdom means that sometimes have carried the meaning of that it is something outside the world. Actually it's not. Okay? But there's no other word, so we use that. So the meaning of transcendental wisdom does not mean that it's outside or out of the world thing. It's nothing to do with our world. It is right here and now. Actually, praja, the Greek wisdom, is in our daily life, everyday life. And we have to see us ourselves. And it is the things that exactly help us and free us from our suffering, and set us free and at ease with our life. It seems that most of the time we are not happy with ourselves, right? We're not easy, we're not comfortable, and we just don't know what is it, right? But when we use our praja, then we can see that we can enjoy our life, be at ease without any worries or any suffering, here and now. Not somewhere else, not in the future. Okay? It's right at this very moment, at this very place. And there's no promised land, and there's no heaven or anything. Praja, you cannot find it in heaven. Okay? You cannot find praja in the promised land. Then nobody promised you. Okay? It's right here and now. Okay? So if you realize Praja, then you can live a life, or what we call live an enlightened life, now and here. Not in the next life, not in the future life, not in the promised land, not in heaven. Okay, I'll stop here and we will continue the discussion of the overview about Praja in the next class. And now I hand over to Tom for the next section of the class.